Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and Michael Moriarty using an Aztec god to exploit the NYPD. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Q, the Winged Serpent. This 1982 horror film follows Jimmy Quinn, a manic, down-on-his-luck criminal and addict trying to get his life together and start anew as a jazz musician. His dreams crumble when he winds up helping the mob to rob a diamond store, which leads him to discover a giant nest at the top of the Chrysler Building. Meanwhile, the NYPD is trying to track down the man and woman-eating creature that is stalking the Big Apple skies, as well as a murderous cult that seems to be worshipping the serpent. Q was written, directed, and produced by Larry Cohen. I covered his most famous film, The Stuff, last summer, but he's also brought us God Told Me To, It's Alive, Special Effects, and a lot of other beloved B movies. Be sure to watch my review of The Stuff if you haven't, that movie is a doozy. Larry Cohen didn't come to Q with a fully formed script at first. It really grew out of his instincts as a fast, opportunistic filmmaker and his fascination with mixing genres. Cohen loved the idea of dropping something completely fantastical into a very grounded, gritty New York story. In the early 80s, New York City still had a reputation for danger and unpredictability, and he wanted a creature that felt like it belonged in the chaos. The film is part monster movie, part police procedural, and part character study. And just like The Stuff, this film also stars Michael Moriarty. He plays Jimmy Quinn, the thief who accidentally discovers the serpent. Q also stars Candy Clark from American Graffiti as Joan, David Carradine from Kill Bill as Detective Shepard, Richard Roundtree from Shaft as Sergeant Powell, James Dixon from Maniac Cop as Lieutenant Murray, and Malachi McCourt from The Devil's Own as Commissioner McConnell. The film was shot fast and loose, meaning that the actors got to do a lot of improv on set and really inform who their characters are. This is also a really great example of guerrilla filmmaking. Many scenes were filmed without official permission, especially around landmarks like the Chrysler Building. The production would often set up quickly, shoot, and leave before the authorities could intervene. In many cases, people on the street didn't realize they were even in a movie. And like many of Cohen's films, it treats New York City almost as a character in itself. It captures a pre-gentrification Manhattan that feels grimy, chaotic, and just full of energy. Cinematography was handled by Fred Murphy of Freddy vs. Jason and October Sky, and the score was composed by Robert Ragland of 10 to Midnight and Grizzly. The Flying Serpent was brought to life using stop-motion animation by David Allen and Randall William Cook. They are both effects legends, with Allen working on The Howling, Twilight Zone the movie, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, Dolls, Puppet Master, Bride of Reanimator, Subspecies, and Demonic Toys. Cook has brought us effects in The Gate, Ghostbusters, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'll be honest up front that the effects here don't live up to the effects in most of those other films, but they are still better than they have any right to be. Q was given a very limited theatrical release in the US, only making $250,000 on a budget of $1 million. It was met with pretty positive reviews from critics at the time though, who appreciated Moriarty's performance, the traditional effects, and the schlocky look at New York City. It currently has a 72% and 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, along with a 3.1 on Letterboxd, which aren't outstanding numbers but do indicate the film has some fans. I do imagine that 42% has to do with a fair amount of people going into this film expecting a really straightforward monster movie, which is not what this is at all. Thank you so much to my patron Lee for requesting Q for me to review. This one was actually a first time watch for me, and after having pretty recently reviewed The Stuff, I was excited to check out another Cohen Moriarty flick. And hey, if you end up liking this review, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews. I'm currently making my way through the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise if that's of interest to anybody. And hey, if you want to support the channel further, you can also become a patron or a channel member. You can join the Discord to talk horror movies with me and a fun little community of people. Lots of fun options. Check out some info down in the comment section. But hey, with all that said, it's probably time we get started. I hope y'all are in the mood for a big fucking omelet, because we're watching Q, the Winged Serpent. The movie opens in good old New York City, where a perverted window washer is harassing a businesswoman inside the Empire State Building.
Oh, hello again, you little creep. Here again today. How many times can you wash that same dumb window?
Not for long though, as an unseen creature rips his fucking head off. Detective Shepard and Sergeant Powell question how this could have happened, as well as where the guy's head went.
Ah, shit. Maybe his head just got loose and fell off.
Meanwhile, a group of criminals are enjoying a Peking duck. Our protagonist, Jimmy Quinn, is a wheelman being recruited to assist with a diamond heist.
And I don't carry a piece. And my cut is 20%.
No. Your cut is 12.5%. And you haven't worked in 8 months.
He is hoping to leave his life of crime behind and pursue a musical career, so for now he gives the group of thieves a strong maybe. We suddenly cut to a skinned corpse in a hotel room, which seems to have been some sort of ritualistic sacrifice. We take on the POV of an airborne creature as it flies through the skies of Manhattan. It, as well as a telescopic peeping Tom, set their sights on a topless sunbather. Hey, can we get any closer to that nipple? Perfect. We get our first real glimpse of Q as it attacks the woman and flies off with her body. It rains blood on the people of New York, who have some hilarious line delivery. Meanwhile, Jimmy auditions to be the new scat man at a bar his girlfriend Joan works at. The owner is not impressed and turns Jimmy down, but Detective Shepard thought he was pretty good. With that, Jimmy decides to join in on the diamond heist. Unfortunately, his counterparts refuse to let him sit on the sidelines, taking the keys, handing him a gun, and dragging him inside to help. Jimmy bolts in the middle of the robbery with a satchel of diamonds in hand, but he gets hit by a taxi and loses it in the chaos of Chinatown. He rushes to the Chrysler building to talk to his attorney, but Jimmy accidentally sets off the alarm system. In order to evade the security guard, he climbs to the very top of the building, a vacant area underneath the Art Deco spire. It's here that Jimmy discovers a giant bird's nest, which is the home of a giant egg. He spots a big-ass hole that Mama uses to get in and out of, as well as a somehow completely intact skeleton. I believe this is what's left of the sunbather. Meanwhile, a construction worker gets his lunch stolen and becomes lunch for Q. Shepard meets with a historian named Dr. Hodges, who explains that the skinned corpse resembles the kind of ritual sacrifices the Aztecs performed to worship Quetzalcoatl, or Q as she'll be called in the film.
The gods they prayed to.
One god. Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl is a major god from Aztec mythology, often translated as the feathered serpent. While Quetzalcoatl is a monster in the mythology, he's actually a benevolent, civilizing deity associated with knowledge, the arts, and the creation of humanity. The movie plays fast and loose with this mythology, turning the god into a giant predatory bird. Notably, the blood sacrifices have to be given to Q willingly, meaning that the skinned corpse was actually part of some Neo-Aztec cult. That night, Shepard reads up on Q, now convinced that this monster is responsible for the rooftop murders and disappearances that have been happening lately. Jimmy explains what he saw to Joan, but she doesn't buy his story about Big Bird and assumes he's back on drugs.
No, I mean, I went way up top of this building, 75, 80 stories up, and I'm up there, and I don't believe what I saw. I saw a body up there. There was somebody murdered up there. You know, I think it's a woman because there's a bracelet on, but it's all been torn away. I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
Are you back on something?
Moriarty does some solid acting here. Jimmy comes off as a likable but deeply troubled person. That night, we jump to another sacrifice for Q, where the masked high priest praises the deity while a man has his heart removed.
I am the plumed serpent.
His body, which was dumped in the river, is inspected by Shepard and Powell, the latter of whom believes that Dr. Hodges or another employee at the Aztec wing of the museum is involved. Q munches on another victim, and word of a giant killer bird has finally hit newspapers. A different historian suggests that the ancient world may have been covered with giant birds at one point. This may explain why the giant feathered serpent has appeared in mythology across the globe. Doyle and Webb, the gangsters who set the diamond heist into motion, arrive at Jimmy's apartment to collect the diamonds he stole. He exits via the fire escape but is quickly caught by the boys outside.
You're no crook, are you, Quinn?
But I lost it.
Oh, yeah? Well, we're gonna hurt you.
They don't believe that he lost the diamonds in traffic and start pounding on him before he confesses to hiding them at the top of the Chrysler building. The gangsters knock out the security guard and follow Jimmy to the tippy top, with Doyle climbing the final ladder up to the nest. He gets his head chomped off by Q, and Webb is devoured off screen as Jimmy makes his ecstatic getaway. Later that day, Q makes her proper on-screen debut when she plucks a Walton Goggins lookalike out of a pool. Jimmy gets picked up by the cops as the other thieves who were arrested named him in the interrogation. He was also identified by the Chrysler security guard, although everyone is confused as to why a bunch of criminals would knock out a guard but not steal anything. They have Jimmy dead to rights, but he has a bright idea when he overhears Shepard filling in Powell and the captain about the giant Aztec bird god that is eating New Yorkers and being worshipped by a murderous cult. Shepard believes the cult somehow prayed the creature back to life through their rituals. Jimmy meets with Joan, although she dumps him when he refuses to reveal the creature's hiding place out of the goodness of his heart.
Gotta tell them.
All my life I've been a nobody. And right now I can be somebody important. You expect me to give that up?
I think I liked you better as a small-time crook.
No, our boy Jimmy wants to make a deal. I considered making a crude joke about Q hitting one of the towers, but let's just appreciate these genuinely great shots of New York's architecture instead. Jimmy meets with all of the police bigwigs, and he gets their attention when he correctly shares that one of the victims was wearing a charm bracelet.
Man died yesterday. You've been sitting on this damn information. You could have prevented it. How the hell does that make you feel?
Like a hero, because I'm preventing tomorrow's death and the day after that and the day after that. So kiss my ass.
Next, he shares his list of demands. Immunity from this robbery and any other crimes he may be accused of, 1 million tax-free dollars, and exclusive rights to the creature's corpse, its nest, and all images of it. Jimmy claims his life of crime started when a cop planted cocaine on him, and he feels the city owes him for the years of turmoil that have followed. The police agree to his terms in exchange for the location, but they need some time to put together the paperwork. Jimmy and Shepard get a cup of coffee, during which the detective tries to pull on Jimmy's heartstrings. It doesn't work, with Jimmy sharing that he knowingly led Doyle and Webb to their deaths. Shepard nearly gets him to spill the beans about the creature's location, but Jimmy gets wise and tightens up. He does share that Q laid an egg though. The commissioner also forces Shepard to alter his report, eliminating any connection between this big bird and the Aztec rituals. It's easier to kill Big Bird than a god. Papers are signed and Jimmy leads the boys in blue to the top of the Chrysler. He reluctantly follows Shepard up to the nest, where the egg and a few new bodies are hanging out.
Fry up about 500 pounds of bacon. We're gonna have us some breakfast.
Shepard and another officer gun down the baby as it tries to hatch, although Big Mama is out of the house right now. Because this hunt didn't result in the death of Q, Shepard tells Jimmy that the city will refuse to give him the million or the amnesty. That said, Shepard wants them to stay put for when Q comes back. Meanwhile, a cop disguised as a mime is staking out the prime suspect for the cult killings. They follow the killer, who is met with who they assume is the next victim. The taxi leads them to the Natural History Museum, where the masked leader, who goes by the plumed Serpent, prepares to perform another sacrifice. The organ removal is interrupted by the police, who shoot the sacrificial lamb to death when he lunges at them.
Let us finish in peace! Get on!
The killer yeets his mask at them and flees towards the roof, with Powell and the mime right on his heels. But their trap is ruined by Q, who grabs Powell and drops him 100 stories to his death. Back of the Chrysler, which is revealed to be adorned with a lot of bird decorations, the boys recklessly open fire on the beast while she flies around. I'm sure bullets are just raining down on the nearby neighborhoods. Q fights back though, yeeting 3 officers to their deaths.
Okay, everybody hold their positions. Everybody stay right where you are, all right? Don't move.
She nearly gets Shepard as well, but the cops riddle her with bullets. She crashes into a building before plummeting to the street below. Sometime later, Jimmy is hunkered down in a shitty hotel. He's ambushed by the cult leader who wants him to be the next sacrifice to resurrect the plumed serpent.
You are the betrayer, and now you must humble yourself.
I imagined it would be someone we've met before, but no, it's just some Latino guy. Jimmy refuses to pray, just as he has his entire life. Shepard arrives and shoots the killer in the head, although it takes 5 more shots to put the resilient bastard down for good. With that, Jimmy sets out to find a job as a pianist so he can get back together with Joan. But it's not all happy endings though, as in some derelict building in the city, another baby Q hatches to end the film. And that's Q, the winged serpent. Yeah, this shit is nuts. Q is really Larry Cohen going at full throttle and embracing all the things he loves as a filmmaker. It's part monster movie, part police procedural, and part character study, and if anything, it's more of those latter two than it is an actual monster movie. This is not your typical big Hollywood blockbuster where the creature is the star of the show. We spend the vast majority of our time with Jimmy and really learn about him and his personal struggles. I've only seen a small portion of his work, but I have a newfound respect for Moriarty. His performance here is genuinely impressive, ranging from hilarious to heartbreaking. He's a morally gray character, always talking shit and talking out of his ass about the next big thing. He honestly turns what could have been an average B movie into something a lot more compelling. His scenes shine with a kind of manic energy that feel half improvised, giving the film an off-kilter rhythm that is really uniquely its own. This film has a weird energy to it that's hard to put into words, but if you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. And it's also just a really interesting and enjoyable cast altogether, with so many great character actors getting to play really off-kilter characters. This is a film that relies on personality and ingenuity over polish and prestige. It's got that great grimy New York guerrilla filmmaking that I personally really love. The constant presence of real New Yorkers gives the movie a documentary-like texture. You can feel the city pushing back against the film, which makes the presence of a mythological creature feel oddly plausible. Q is just as quirky as the human characters in a lot of ways, or at least in the sense that she is a really strange choice of a monster to build this film around. If Hollywood tried to make a movie about a dragon in New York City, it would try to be too bombastic or too self-serious, and the dragon would be too cool looking to actually be cool. Q has this really bare bones look that is almost bland or almost unfinished, which makes her kind of cooler. I'm not sure if that even makes sense, but I appreciate that the filmmakers decided to go with this really straightforward kind of look instead of trying to make this over-the-top, never-before-seen creature just for originality's sake that would have really hindered the claymation process. The monster itself, brought to life through incredible stop motion by David Allen, is both a strength and a limitation in the film, to be honest. On one hand, the effects are clearly constrained by budget, the creature appears very, very, very sparingly, and most of the shots are rough around the edges. On the other hand though, I think the restraint mostly works in the film's favor. By not overexposing us to the creature, we get more of this haunting idea of it looming over the city, which is more effective than just showing the monster again and again and again and letting us know exactly what it looks like from the jump. And when it does appear, there's a handmade charm that modern CGI often lacks. Q is never really scary on screen, but I'm always captivated when the stop motion monster shows up in New York. And the full body shots we get later in the film are impressive, especially once she has been riddled with bullets and is bleeding all over the place. That being said, the film isn't without its flaws. The genre and tonal shifts can be pretty jarring at times. It'll flip from occult horror to off-kilter character study to police procedural, and sometimes back to occult horror all in one scene. All of this bouncing makes it a little hard to tell when we should take the film seriously, because there are some really serious moments and really good acting on display, but then sometimes they feel a little undercut by the comedy. The pacing also feels a little uneven. We spend a lot of time with these human characters, so as far as monster movies go, it could feel a little slow to people. The cult subplot ultimately feels pretty unimportant to the film, and I imagine that it was going to be a pretty integral part of the story. I thought the cult leader especially would be someone of importance or someone we've met before, but it all kind of just ends up happening. For viewers expecting a straightforward monster movie, Q may come off as messy or disjointed. But that messiness is also kind of the point. We're watching a bunch of overconfident idiots encountering something they can't understand. Similar to Jimmy, Q the film thrives on its unpredictability. It's a film that's made quickly, cheaply, and with a kind of reckless creativity that's hard to replicate. In an era of increasingly polished genre filmmaking, it stands as a reminder that personality, risk, and resourcefulness can be just as powerful as budget. Q the Winged Serpent isn't special because it's super clean and polished and refined. It's special because it feels alive. You can feel the handmade quality of the stop motion effects, just like you can feel the handmade quality of the entire film. It feels like a movie that could fall apart at any moment, and instead of collapsing, it vibrates with this chaotic, inventive energy. Larry Cohen turns limitations into style, using the streets of New York to create something that feels bigger than its budget ever should have allowed. And this isn't just a monster movie, it's a story about desperation, hustle, and survival, anchored by Michael Moriarty's unforgettable performance. The creature might be circling above the city, but the real tension comes from the people below, scrambling to make sense of or exploit it and each other. This mix of myth and street-level petty crime and realism gives the film a strange, compelling heartbeat. The handmade effects, the guerrilla filmmaking, and the way the Chrysler Building becomes this almost mythical space is so much fun. You can see the seams of the film, you can feel the shortcuts, but instead of breaking the illusion, it kind of draws you in. It reminds you that movies are made by people solving problems in real time, not just machines rendering out perfection. In the end, I enjoy Q because it refuses to be just one thing. It's messy, funny, tense, bizarre, and completely its own. And in a world full of safe, predictable genre films, that kind of bold, scrappy individuality is what makes it not just memorable, but genuinely special. Michael Moriarty, Candy Clark, David Carradine, and Richard Roundtree are all bouncing between camp and serious performance. An Aztec death cult is skinning people alive, Moriarty gives us some really bad scat, and a giant claymation dragon is decapitating gangsters and topless women on rooftops. I honestly don't know what more you could want from a Larry Cohen film. If you're a fan of B-movies, exploitation filmmaking, just genre films in general, really strange off-kilter stories, or claymation monsters, you should definitely check this one out. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much to my patron Lee for requesting Q for me to review. This was so much fun and a wonderful follow-up for me after doing The Stuff, and it's a very different film, but you can still feel that same kind of heart and soul that film has as well. But have any of you seen Q? And if so, what did you think of it? Be sure to share your thoughts, ideas, theories, and really anything else you want to share down in the comments. And be sure to join me next time as we check out A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Thank you all so much for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Q. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews. And if you want to help support the channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks, y'all.